okay, Tottenham fans won't like this. Oh God.
Ooh. Go on, mate.
Sorry, Spurs fans. I never rated. Let's go
Hello,
for
mate.
it.
Yeah, let's just
How
go
are
for
we?
it. We're live. We're live. So
Yeah,
there we go.
there we
Yeah.
Yeah, intros are overrated, I think.
Yeah.
People just want to get into the meat of the conversation. He says as he waffles through the intro, but there we go.
Yeah, thanks for that, James. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
no
that.
worries. I've just ruined it.
Anyway, everyone's here to see you anyway, mate. They've seen you in the thumbnail. You're riding on the top of Edu's shoulders or something along those lines.
I look forward to seeing how creative you get with this thumbnail for sure.
Yeah.
Because the work on the Canon's been impressive.
So our kind of precursor conversation to this whole thing is James has said, go wild, just do your own thing in the thumbnails. Because at the moment, I think they've been, I don't know, reserved. I'll put it that way.
But that's okay. I mean, yeah, like YouTube, everyone, I try to figure it out like it's a formula and it's not.
Yeah.
Just do what you want. Honestly, just do whatever like makes you happy because then that comes across to the audience. So
That's true.
so just if it's a weird thumbnail of my face plastered on someone doing it, we'll then go for it. We'll roll with it.
You say that now. You say that now, James.
That's
We'll
true.
see.
Actually,
We'll see where this ends
yeah,
up. Yeah. Because genuinely, I have no idea. I haven't even started making one. So
fair enough.
we'll both find out what it is when it comes up, James. No, how are you getting on anyway, mate? Because it's been a little while since we had a chat. I think this might be a slightly more depressing chat than the last one. We were pretty optimistic. It was
good back
a
then.
pre-season that we had a chat, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Yeah.
how are you feeling about the season so far?
Not great. I don't know. I mean, the international break for me, I've just tried to just like kind of forget about Arsenal, to be honest. I'm trying to upgrade the kind of sort of studio setup for the Goonerverse a little bit. So I'm just sort of
Nice.
focusing on work stuff more than I am actual thinking about the club and Arsenal. I think there were signs of life in the final games against Inter and Chelsea. But I felt that ultimately it was a bit too little too late. Actually, it wasn't even too little. Actually, there was actually plenty to like about the Chelsea performance, despite the draw. But it's just all a bit too late because we're now 9 points behind Liverpool. Is it title race over? I change my mind every day. Sometimes I think, no, there's so long to go. I mean, someone made the point that we were 8 points clear in February of Man City. This is 9 points clear in November. So let's not throw in the towel yet. And that's absolutely true. If we keep saying we want to be Man City, we need to do things they've done, which is claw back those gaps. I do feel though that we haven't sort of built that momentum. I feel I've had questions about Arteta, though a lot of them were being answered against Chelsea. Erdegaard's back, which is a good thing. White's injured though now. So I don't know. It was a funny old game. I sort of think international break, you either go into it annoyed because your team's doing well and you want to keep watching them play, or actually the form's so bad that you go, okay, let's just all take a break. And that's how I feel right now. Just I'm quite glad we're not kicking the football for another week and a half.
Yeah, I was about 2 weeks ago. I was like, right, I've got to start pumping out the content again. I've been, doing stuff with the Canon guys, and I thought I've got to, do something for myself. And then across that 2 week period, I found myself more and more going, actually, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna try and chill out because do like an instant reaction. Like you're quite often on there, you do the live watch alongs and stuff. I mean, I commend you, mate, because it's so difficult to watch some of the, I don't want to say dross, but I'm going to use that word, the dross that we've had recently compared to, our expectations for this team. And it's so difficult to not only evaluate what's going on the pitch and analyze, how we're playing. You're then trying to look at Arteta's choices and reason with them. And then you want to kind of get this across in a manner that's not too depressing, too aggressive, or kind of too reactionary. Because like you say, like what is it, 11 games we've played so far? It's not a huge portion. It's less than a third of the season.
Well, also because, sorry to jump in there, but also because we're in this weird position where like we are underachieving and underperforming for the standards that not only we as fans have set, but the players themselves, this group, this manager have set. But they're not performing abysmally. We're not sat eighth, albeit
Yeah.
the points tallies are so tight that it could have looked a lot worse by the end of that last weekend. But we're not sat eighth. We're not. We haven't been battered 3-0 at home by Tottenham. We haven't disgraced ourselves in some of these bigger games. We just didn't show anywhere near enough against Bournemouth and Newcastle, which was disappointing. We got our act together against Liverpool and against Chelsea, but it wasn't enough to win those games. We lost at Inter, but we're still 2 wins, a draw, and a defeat in the Champions League group in a fairly okay position. Was that Patsy?
That's Patsy. That's not
Oh,
me, by the way.
oh, bless
She's
Patsy.
she's not feeling great at the moment.
That's
She
okay.
every time, James, it's you. She just wants to be center of
Oh,
attention. That's what she. Can you see her right now?
I
See
can't
if I move
know.
back this way.
Uh,
Hey,
there she
there
is.
she is.
Hey,
Yeah.
Patsy. She's
So,
so cute.
mate, it's every time
Yeah,
you're on. Every time. It's
perfect.
dog whisperer.
We had we were looking after a French bulldog called Houdini, and he's so needy. So I spent like the Forever Arsenal podcast with him on my lap because he just wouldn't leave me alone. He's very, very cute. But no, just back to it. Like it's also difficult because I was sitting there going, like, Arteta should do this, Arteta should do that. And then my brain's also going, we have just had a very difficult fixture list. He has had some key players missing, and we are also not in a terrible position. Quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Title race probably is over, but a lot would argue it's not. And the Champions League phase is going fine, not great, but fine. So it's like we can't even sit there and go, we're so bad that we kind of know where to point all the fingers to. We're just not where we want to be, which in itself isn't good. I mean, that's a bad thing. Um, but then you don't know what Arsenal are going to do. I mean, I've sort of found myself holding back a little bit from being super critical and really kind of like losing it when I feel like that's what I want to do, because this team have shown a bounce back ability. Not instantly. They like to take 1 or 2 or 3 games to get over it. But once they do, they can put a real run together. And then I find myself feeling like an idiot, like, you're criticizing, but they still got it in them. But I don't know. It's a very weird time trying to analyze this Arsenal team right now, because
Mm.
it feels like we're not doing loads wrong, but the few things we are doing wrong are pretty crucial.
Yeah, and I think you alluding to that, that run of bad form that we seem to have each season, and that's another
Yeah.
thing. It's the narrative that plays around it. If we lost against Chelsea and went below Nottingham Forest, you could see the headline saying, we're worse than Forest and da da da. I don't think anyone would be putting a bet saying that we'll finish below them at the end of the season. But that's how the
Yeah,
narrative
exactly.
plays
Yeah.
out, and it's hard to ignore that sometimes, and it's hard to ignore that we don't seem to bounce back after one game. There's always like a run of 2 or 3 or 4 games, and that's when we're getting to a millimeter within it's touching distance, isn't it? It's I think Alex said it yesterday that it's the difference between a foot that we didn't win the title last season. It's a difference between a decision going our way or not. We're talking about the absolute the tiniest of variables, and because we know that, I think that's the other thing. We're well aware that you lose a couple of games in this league and you're out of the title race as far as we're all concerned. Hopefully
Well,
that's
look
not the
at
case. And
yeah. I mean, if you look at Newcastle, Chelsea, right? I felt we needed to win both those games because we didn't beat Liverpool. But if we drew to Newcastle, we weren't good on the day. Were Newcastle particularly good on the day? I think they were fine. But it's a brilliant cross and brilliant header. Now,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
them doing that doesn't mean they weren't good. That's all part of their performance, and ultimately they showed quality where we absolutely didn't. But basically, you have that chance 10 times, or that moment, that action 10 times. You have the Declan Rice one at the end 10 times. Which one's more likely to end up in a goal? Like, you'd argue Rice should score that basically 8, 9, 10 times.
Yeah.
But Isak masters the header from a masterful cross. We've lost the game. Now, we did not deserve to win. We were terrible. But my point is, in a game which very little happened, that didn't go our way. Or we didn't. It didn't deserve to. But I'm just saying. I'm not saying I know we're so unlucky, but I'm just making the point. Chelsea, Havertz, slightly offside. Trossard misses an unbelievable chance. There's actually another sort of couple moments like that. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that we got a point at Newcastle and we've got 3 points at the Bridge. We're 3 points better. We're 6 points behind Liverpool. We're going, okay, that does feel really far. But you know what? We had the shocker of Bournemouth. We've been undefeated in 3 big games since then. And the chase is on now. We've got really big away games out the way. And it can be the
Yep.
finest of margins that makes those small, that could just make a big difference to the way you look at it. The thing is, it's just gone like so wildly the wrong way. I mean, losing
Yeah.
to Chelsea would have been like the only way it could have possibly been worse. But it really has been like blow after blow. 2-1 up against Liverpool. You go to Newcastle. Can we turn it? Can we turn our fortunes around? We lose there. Then at the Bridge, you're 1-0 up. You draw 1-1. Inter, it's just like, oh my word! It's just been
Yeah.
the White injury, then something else. I think Gary Neville said it to Jamie Carragher. He was like, they just had a nightmare of a time, and it will get better. And I sort of think I actually agree with that. Everything I've done from post match reactions to podcasts or whatever it is in this bad form with Arsenal, I've said we will go back to being a very good side again. That's not my doubt. My doubt is whether it will swing enough with Liverpool to the point where we catch them, and that's my doubt.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm realizing as well with Liverpool is that they have like so many big game players, players that have got them over the line, players that are very experienced. You can make the argument some of them are players that will go down in Premier League 11s of
Yeah,
all time.
yeah,
They've got Salah will be there or thereabouts at that right
yeah.
wing
Van
position.
Dijk will be in the
Van
conversation.
Dijk, Trent, even
Allison, yeah,
Allison,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they've
You're
got
right.
these players, and you look through our squad, and cohesively, we are an unbelievable unit.
Yeah,
But individually, I still wonder if we're quite at that level, at that De
yeah. I agree.
Bruyne, that Haaland level of player. I would say Saka's around there, Odegaard's getting there, Saliba's there. But we're still, I look at our attack, for example. I love Martinelli. I've been adamant this season of kind of fighting his corner, not kind of, not without kind of understanding the downfalls to him. And, I'm not just doing it blindly saying, just
Mm.
ignore the misses he's had. There were several games. He was our biggest outlet. He is one of the
Yeah, I
few
totally agree.
players we have for pace, able to, work on a transition. He's actually getting himself in positions this year, which we didn't see a lot last year. But having said all that, we can still upgrade on him. I really like Havertz. I'm not going to say I love Havertz, but I really like what he's done for our club. And I do think that using him in that kind of that hybrid 9-10 role that we have when Odegaard hasn't been there, seeing him move out towards the right hand side, I haven't liked that. But I
No.
still think there's an upgrade there to be, bought at some point.
Yeah,
Right the way through the team, I'm still, there's always room for improvement. That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah.
The one thing I would say with Liverpool is that they don't seem to control games, and whether
Totally agree.
that's the thing that allows us back in the title race, and the
Yeah,
fact that City's biggest controller is Rodri and he's out. Maybe that's our way in because we're one of the few teams that controls, albeit through duels. Maybe that's our way back in, and we can actually start picking up points and go on a run and start making some ground on them. I think
yeah.
if I was a betting
Y-
man, I'm not betting for Arsenal right now. Come
No.
back to me in kind of February, March time, and it might be a different picture.
Well, also, I mean, Man City in what's been a terrible run, they're only 5 points off Liverpool. And they're thinking, well, they could only get better. De Bruyne
Mm-hmm.
needs to. He's back now, and he'll rediscover some form. They'll sign a six in January. They'll put together a run because they always do. I like to think this is one of the years where they've really kind of fallen away. It happens very rarely. It happens once every 5 years, but maybe this is one of them. So yeah, I know what you mean. Liverpool feel chaseable, but just because the chase is on doesn't mean you're going to win it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
It feels like okay. Like I th- If someone told me mid-Jan we're within 3 points of Liverpool, that that wouldn't surprise me. But if we lose the title to them by 1 or 2 points, we'll look back at this run where we just couldn't pull anything out the bag.
Yeah.
We'll go, well, that's where it was because we let another run like that ultimately cost us.
Would that be a major failure, James? If we let Slot win a title, because if Pep goes on a run and wins it, I think everyone will hold their hands up and go, "It's Pep, it's City." You know, they're a completely different animal to what we
Yeah.
are. If Slot wins it, how would you feel about it?
I feel like it's so disrespectful to Liverpool and to Slot to say like if these bums do it, then what the hell have we? You know, it feels a bit like that. It's like, well, Arne Slot, he was a very highly respected, talked about manager. There's a reason that they looked at him and Amarim for the job, and who's the other guy? Xabi Alonso. Like these are three very exciting young coaches. You just mentioned they have 4 players that are legitimate
Yeah,
contenders for not just the current best 11 in the Premier League, the all-time best 11. Alisson will be put in conversations by people, as will Trent, as will Van Dijk, as will Salah. Who do we have? None. We don't have a single one. And in terms of making it into the current best 11, again, there's debates to be had. I love Bukayo Saka. I love Bukayo Saka. I think the world-class conversation is totally fair, but he's not better than Salah. So already you've lost that one. And that's one of our best players. So my point is that it would be so disappointing for where we are, where they were. We've been ahead of Liverpool under Klopp the last 2 years. Let's remember that.
yep.
And if Slot came in and was able to make a few tweaks, not sign anyone, and leapfrog us, that would be really, really disappointing.
Mm.
It would be. It would feel really disappointing. But it's not because they're a bunch of idiots and, how dare we let that happen? It would be because we should have pushed ourselves to be better. And yes, they're brilliant, but we should have been ready to be better. And that's kind of what I think what would be disappointing. If City are ever going to slip, we've made all the excuses for this team. Yeah, but City. Okay, but if it's then more Liverpool without barely a transfer window, do it. That'd be really disappointing.
Yeah, you could see the headlines and the tweets coming out about, Slot only took 1 year and Arteta. I mean, it's so funny, isn't it? How,
But I do think though. Sorry to jump in. There, I do
yeah.
think that we need people need to slow down a little bit on this because Ange Postecoglou was 8 wins, 2 draws in his first 10 games.
Mhm.
They were talking about the Invincibles and saying that they made a better start than the Invincibles and things like that. And I remember the football Tottenham were playing, and I actually thought from an attacking perspective, not from an overall complete package perspective, from an attacking perspective, they were more impressive than this Liverpool team right now. I mean, they were devastating with Son up front, Maddison in form, Basuma and Saul all over the place, Romero and Van de Ven like the next big thing at centre back together. And then 1 or 2 injuries, and it just completely fell apart.
Yeah.
That team should never, after 8 wins and 2 draws, should never have failed to get Champions League football, and they did. And they did it in a way where even Villa limped over the line. Villa weren't great at the end of last season, far from it in that last month or two. Limped over the line because Tottenham were even worse. So football can swing, momentum-wise, can swing massively. It can just absolutely flip. They were 1-0 up against Chelsea in that 11th game. They should have been, they were there's a minor offside, and it would have been 2-0. And it could have been 9 wins, 2 draws. They end up losing that game because of a red card, and Chelsea ultimately played better on the day. And football and momentum swung.
Yep.
Football is a funny old game. It really, really is. So I've got all the admiration for Slot. I really do. I really admire the work he's done and the tweaks he's made with Gravenberch and whatever. But to say that, they're imperious and that they'll never ever have a bad moment for me is far too pessimistic from our end.
Yeah, it will definitely come. It has to.
Yeah.
I've never seen a team, even the Invincibles. There were moments where I can remember watching, thinking, "You've limped over the line on that one," or we got the draw when we hadn't either played well or we had played well, and then suddenly we end up with a draw.
They
It
drew.
wasn't.
Sorry, they drew 12. Look, I'm not trying to. Can I swear? Can I say the S word? No, I won't say it.
Yeah, go on.
It
Go on, mate.
all right then.
It's you, not me, so it's fine.
Fine. I'm not trying to shit on the Invincibles. What a side. I know. Sorry, kids. But they dropped points in 12 games. Now, okay, they also never lost. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
12 points they put on the board. That's the, the equivalent of 4 extra wins. But they did. They dropped points in 12 games. We dropped points in 10 last season.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very long way of saying we won more games than the Invincibles. But my point is, look, it makes there's 2 points there. A, put points on the board because they can be valuable. It doesn't matter,
Yep.
even if you can't win. That's why I was so annoyed with Bournemouth and Newcastle. You know, even if we just drawn those 2 games and we had 4 draws in the last 4 Premier League games, it'd be disappointing, but we'd only be 7 behind Liverpool, and it'd feel just a little bit more catchable than 9 does. So that's what kind of annoys me. But the other point is, what was my other point? I can't remember what I was mentioning. What was I saying? Oh yeah,
That we've
yeah,
a
we're talking
dip.
about having slumps, right? That's quite a lot of days where the Invincibles didn't win a football match.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the
Interesting.
thing. The history proves teams are not going to have it their own way the whole season. City are built on essentially getting over the line on the last day. You know, a
Yeah.
last kick of a game. That's how close it can be sometimes. And I think I'm not betting on us getting over the line, but it's very reasonable to say we will be there or thereabouts. Who would you, if you're betting right now, James? Would you be going for City, Liverpool? Who are you going for?
I would be going for City. I
Yeah.
tell you what, I saw big up everyone at AFTV. They did a video. Oh, it's called "We Come in Peace," and they did it with sort of rival fans. So Abby, Tottenham fan, Cam's Man United fan, and they all put down their winners. I think only Abby went for City. Everyone else went for Liverpool. Now
Mm.
you could say that is just showing respect to what they're seeing on the pitch. City look a mess, and Liverpool look brilliant. Defensively fantastic. Goals, world-class players in both boxes. Decent squad depth too. Really frightening front line. I'm not having a pop at anyone who's betting on Liverpool. They are brilliant. However, City have won the last 4.
Yeah.
So I just feel like if they were 9 points behind, I'd feel differently. But they're only 5. They've caught up more than this. They will replace Rodri. They will get other players back. Their midfield, when fully fit, can still be Stones in the 6 with De Bruyne and Bernardo, or Gundogan, or Foden, with Savinho and Doku wide, with Haaland in the team too. I mean, even without Rodri, they can still field something exceptional. So I just don't feel like they've got them. Guvardiol was a centre back converted left back who happens to be their biggest goal threat without Haaland. Like they're brilliant. They will get it together. Again, whether it's enough for them to claw things back against Liverpool is another question. But I'm still betting on them to win it.
Yeah.
And the only time I wavered from that was when we drew 2-2 at the Etihad, and I thought we're going to do it. We're a better team. We've got in their heads, and we're going to do it. What we need is some fire between Liverpool and Man City in this rivalry too, because we're the
Yeah.
only ones who seem to want to go like punch for punch with everyone, or should I say, we want to kind of bring the fire. But City and Liverpool just like have so much respect for each other. It's kind of admirable in one sense, but it'd be nice if there's some tensions there as well. So it could be interesting this title race.
That's quite boring as well. I grew up with
I've
Wenger
got to
and
say, I've
Fergie. I'm like, oh come on, let's.
yeah,
I
I
don't get me
found the
wrong. I.
Klopp Guardiola relationship a bit boring. It's also
Mm,
totally admirable and brilliant to watch because they're both fantastic. And I don't think football needs to be this like super aggressive, aggressive. We hate them, they hate us. I don't think football needs to be like that for you to enjoy it. However, over years of like rivalry and missing out, and now all these kind of charges and everything, you'd think there'd be a little bit
mm.
more bad blood between the two. But anyway,
Yeah, it's funny,
no,
isn't it?
just
I
us.
don't. Yeah, there seems to be even like when you look at it for what it is as well. You've got Arteta and Pep who have got a long relationship. You know, a very good relationship. Arteta being a coaching, part of the coaching staff that wouldn't celebrate against Arsenal. So he's very much capable of showing respect.
Yeah.
But So if you're a betting man, you probably go, oh yeah, Arteta's going to be really friendly with Pep, and the players going to do the same, and it's going to be a bit dry, so to speak.
Mm.
But it's funny. It was the other way around. And Klopp, I remember the Klopp handshake with Tuchel, and if you want to call it a handshake, but and him kind of kicking off. And we've had Conte in the past, and all these players. It seems that Liverpool and City, for whatever reason, they don't seem to boil over. Whether maybe it's just a bit of an understanding that they're worried that the other one's going to get an upper hand. Maybe that's what it is, and Arteta's not ready for that. But
No,
we know
I
Arteta loves the jewels, doesn't he? He loves that, so
yeah,
it's right up his street. So
I actually think they just, for whatever reason, like to avoid. Or I think Klopp and Pep have major respect for one another, and the players. I think City, and this might sound disrespectful to Arsenal, but I think City and Liverpool have always kind of seen each other as equals, kind of. Even though City have come on more titles, I think Liverpool won the Champions League before them. They've won cups. Liverpool have beaten them in an FA Cup semi-final, and they've just had like really kind of good battles in which I think there's been moments where City have wondered, are we actually better than them? City got battered at Anfield 3-0. They've had some humblings like that. Whereas I think City see Arsenal, I think they respect us, and I think they are worried about us to a degree, or certainly were maybe a couple of weeks ago. But I think they also see us as this like really petulant, annoying, like newcomer. That's just like you beat us once 1-0 through a deflected effort. You parked the bus at the Etihad, and that annoys us, even though we're doing nothing wrong. And I rate Arsenal for approaching it that way.
yeah.
I think they just it just gets under their skin more. I think with Liverpool, they kind of feel sorry for themselves and go, God, they're good, aren't they? But I think with us, they're like, well, why are we not beating this? They don't have better players than us, and they're not playing football the way we think it should be played. And I think we get under their skin more.
Oh,
And I don't
100%.
think, yeah, I think there's a lack of respect. It's not that I don't think they think we're good. I think they do think we're good, but I think they just don't take to what we're trying to do as much as they take to what Liverpool are trying to do.
Yeah,
Or
and I
have done.
think
Or have done is better. Yeah.
it's that like long story, isn't it? Like you say, like we've come up from a team that were nowhere near them, nowhere near them. It was almost like a guaranteed 3 points, regardless if they were at the Emirates or at the Etihad for them. And I think suddenly they're looking, and someone like Haaland, I think his petulance coming out and the comments he was making to Arteta and the other players, throwing the ball. I think that
Yeah.
spoke volumes of we're getting under their skin because suddenly a player that's used to scoring in every game, can't get an inch against Gabriel and Saliba. He must hate playing against them because not only are they obviously very good defenders in terms of like reading the game, passing the ball out, build up, but physically they're so imposing it. So he can't bully them like he can with other defenders. So getting, zero change out of them, I think for some of these players, it's suddenly like, oh, this is not what I'm used to when I turn up at a place like this. And it's nice for us. But
Yeah.
maybe we
The
do.
game.
Maybe we do need like a big 3-0 win, like you talked about with Liverpool, to
Yeah.
then suddenly stop that and kind of stamp that whole thing out.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we need that kind of performance where we've just flexed and shown, whether it be against Liverpool. I think we kind of had that against Liverpool at home last season, but I never
Mhm.
rated Liverpool in that way. Um, but we need that performance where we've invited the best in the league or best in the world to our ground and just made them look silly.
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of the one performance that Arteta's kind of missing from his roster of great results. And he's had over his time at Arsenal, whether it be away wins. He's won like at every ground. He won it except for actually Anfield and the Etihad, but he's won at Old Trafford when we hadn't won in years. He beat Tottenham. He beat Chelsea away. He's gone on, he's done all these great things, but can he get that big, like, jaw-dropping win that makes
Yeah.
others go, "Oh,
Including
Arsenal
the
just showing
Champions
them who
League as
they're
well. I
about."
feel that the Champions League is the next, the next one. We've got
Mm.
Sporting coming up, haven't we? We saw kind of
Yeah.
how they fared. It'll be interesting to see if we can kind of shut them down and do what City didn't. That will be that's a match I'm actually really looking forward to. I think that'd be a good
Yeah,
one.
that'd be tough. That'd be really tough. Although no Amorim, so that makes it different, but Gyökeres is still there.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be a tough, tough, tough game.
Before we kind of move on the next bit, mate, I've got an important question to ask you. So,
Mm.
next part, here we go. I just want your thoughts about this. Because I'm
Oh,
being told that you had something to do with this, James. I
look,
was watching a different knock, and right at the end of the video, Alex alluded to the fact that you're the cause of this missing tooth.
look. I didn't like one of his videos. I had to let him know. No,
Fair
look.
enough.
If Alex and I were to ever get into some sort of
Altercation.
altercation, it would not end well for me. Um,
I thought
he,
you were about to say it wouldn't end well for Alex then, but yeah, I appreciate you, Candor.
no. He's been to the gym once, which is more than I have. He's probably been more than once, but I know for a fact he's been once at least. So it wouldn't end well for me. So yes, I'm afraid he's lied to all his viewers. Joke. I know.
I
I
mean,
know. Some
technically
people,
he has, to be fair.
this is just I know it's scandalous, but yeah.
Look at that picture.
Also, what kind of, and you can tell I've never been in an altercation on this. What kind of fight results in like no damage but one tooth out? I don't know. I'd imagine you either damage some teeth or some bruising. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe a bloody nose, but like you'd have to
The
like
only
lead
time
with like a,
I've
and
really
get that
seen
one
it
tooth.
is actually in a gum shield. And when they've taken the gum shield out,
Mm.
then they've had the tooth in there.
Ugh.
Ironically, that's the only time I've ever seen that. But
Mm.
yeah,
Anyway,
it's
wish
just,
him a speedy recovery. Bless his heart.
yeah. Well, I don't know. He's all right, isn't he? To be
Yeah.
fair, he is doing some training. Most of it is press ups on his podcast, which is a bit weird. We won't
Oh,
do that today, James.
I
We
did
won't put
see
on.
that. Yeah. See exactly why. See why would I dare go to war with someone like that? End badly for me.
Hey,
It
that's
just
an idea for you guys. Next Forever Arsenal podcast. You versus Lee in a press up challenge. There we go.
no,
Sorted.
no, because again,
All
Lee
right,
looks
no.
after himself. This is none of that YouTuber boxing stuff for me. It's just, in
What can we
fact, I'm
get
gonna.
you in a competition with, James? Can we do like, I don't know. What you into? Bit of Uno, Rummy Cub? You ever played Rummy Cub?
I'll tell you what would be. Now I'm actually gonna. This actually is a low key serious suggestion.
Okay.
We should do Football Manager. That would be fun.
Mate, I'd be
We
up for
love
that.
tactics and all that. We should set up a little league,
That's a
and we will have our
well good
teams,
idea.
and we play up against each other. That would be really. That would be a great piece of content.
I'm well up for that.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
that'd be really
Ooh.
fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of us
Okay.
gonna have to look into how the hell we set that all up,
I'll
but
have a little look.
that would be really fun.
That'd
So
be good.
yeah, Football Manager
Good
kind of mini tournament.
suggestion.
Yeah,
Do you know what?
yeah.
One of my favorite kind of videos that you've done was looking at players through Football Manager. Because I thought originally, I was like, no, I'm not too sure about this one, mate. And as soon as you started talking about it, because the database is unbelievable, isn't it? And I thought, oh, let's get rid of this. Sorry. I cannot talk to you while I've got that picture just lurking
We
there.
love you,
Look at
Alex.
him. Yeah, let's get rid of him in a minute. God. But it was a really good video. It was like,
Thank
it
you.
was so good. I thought it was such a different way of having a look, because you have the standalone FM videos, standalone analysis, or kind of transfer videos. A little bit of a mix between the two. It was good.
I appreciate that a lot. That's very kind. The reason I did it was it wasn't even just for the sake of finding a different way, but mainly like Football Manager's database is so good. And I just thought we're all sleeping on this. Like it's giving us the answers. It's all well and good us going on YouTube and seeing what we can find. And by the way, you have to do that. Don't make a judgment on a player based on a video game. Obviously, watch them, see footage, and learn for yourself. Because Football Manager won't tell you their dribbling style. They talk about the cannon angle bias a lot and things like that. That all these little things that make players who they are. Like Football Manager won't tell you that. But it will give you some really good insight into their stamina, their fitness, their pace, their technique on the ball. Are they a flair player? Are they not? How good's their finishing? And I often find that, yeah, it can give you a really good overview. And I think we did it for Calafiori. We might have done it for Marino. And yeah, I personally find it really interesting. I just think I remember the only time I ever doubted Football Manager was it rated Granit Xhaka super highly, like years ago. I remember thinking this guy is useless. Like, why does Football Manager think he's so good? Lo and behold, a good manager comes in who actually knew how to use him properly, and he was immense for us in those kind of
Yeah,
last 2 seasons with Arteta. He then goes to Leverkusen and is a key part of why they went undefeated and beating Bayern Munich, who lost out on the title for the first time in 11 years. And I'm going, oh wait, Phil Manager was right. It just we weren't using him right, but his qualities they actually saw that throughout what was a difficult period for him at Arsenal. So I just think football managers ability to scout a player is top. There's
yeah,
so many
yeah.
players I've signed on the game that get to the top
Go on
in
to
real life. Erling Haaland, I knew about Erling Haaland late 2018, and I think it was more around 2019, 2020 that he started to kind of get but the game was like, yep, this guy is a freak. He's so good. Yeah, absolutely spot on. So, and Osserman as well. I had both
Yep.
Osserman and Haaland at Brentford.
Oh, nice.
I know,
Could you
I know.
imagine? Could you
Both
imagine
free
that now?
transfers. Yeah, I felt good about those.
Tony
So
must have loved that.
they aged really well. So yeah, great, a great game, and it actually teaches you quite a lot.
Which kind of leads us on to the next thing. Oh, look at that
Yeah.
segue. New sporting director.
Uh,
So obviously, Edu's jumped ship. I don't know how you feel
yeah.
about it. I'm kind of not here nor there with it. I
Yeah.
think he did a good job. Um, look at where we were before he came in. First role as well in the job. So it could have been an absolute catastrophe. We had, was it, who did we have?
Raul Sanyehi.
That suddenly left. Yeah. Um, and then, so the whole project, I hate using that word, but the whole project wasn't kind of plain sailing. And for him to come in and, he had some duds. He had some great signings. My only kind of real question for him was getting a big signing across the line where negotiations were needed, because a lot of them were kind of release clauses. Um, Rice was a great deal, but it does seem like Arteta was a big part of that, kind of going and talking to him and setting that whole thing out like way more in advance rather than just in the transfer window. And then the other one was Havertz, which is one that I don't think anyone looked at the time thinking, oh, let's go and get him. Let's go bring him into the club. So maybe that was a little bit of an easier one to get over the line, but he did all right. It could have been worse. But now we have got a couple of different links, James. Kind of first one. So we've got this most recently. So we've got Alabe from Sociedad. He's
Yeah.
leaving. He's saying he's not going to sign a contract until the summer for anywhere else. Is this who you would bring in, or is there anyone that you got in mind, or what are your thoughts on him, really?
This is going to be the most insightful thing that anyone on Forward on Football has ever heard.
Are you going to bring up Football Manager now and just tell me his stats on there?
Yes. No, the insight is I'd never heard of this guy.
Oh, really?
I know nothing about him.
Mate,
I
this is
I
getting clipped up right now.
Yeah, I know nothing about Olave. I don't really know much about directors of football around the game. I don't know who the best are. I don't know. Apparently, Thomas Rosicki's done some good work with Sparta Prague, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. I don't know. Here's how I feel about the position. It's clearly a very important position in football. I think you could see that. Was it Michael Edwards at Liverpool
Yeah.
when? Whatever his role is, when he left, Liverpool's recruitment did fall away a bit. It really did. And so let me just rearrange my screen. There we go. So I totally acknowledge this is a really, really, really big position. And we wouldn't have got to where we are as a club if Edu hadn't done some good work. We didn't thrive in spite of Edu. Absolutely not. So him leaving is a shame because he was a part of the good things for sure. But I'm with you. I'm far from without questions with Edu. I think I said on a live show yesterday, Guimaraes, Paqueta, Kudus, Isak. and there's another one who I can't remember. There's a fifth player, Douglas Luiz.
Yep.
These are all players that we wanted at around the 30 to 50 million pound mark, most of them near the 30, who we then went back in for, or supposedly or reportedly really, really liked and were exploring transfer for at the 90 million pound mark. But we liked them back when they were 30. Why didn't we do these deals?
Yeah.
And also, and this is why sometimes I get annoyed when people go, why do fans think they know better? There's quite a lot of evidence that sometimes fans do know better. Funnily enough, we knew Guimarães was going to be really good. We'd watched the comps. We saw how he did at Leon. People who
Yep.
watched it ever, and they went, "This guy will be brilliant." Isak. When some people were going, but he's not a goal scorer. He's brilliant. Sign him. No. Kudus. No one has banged the Kudus drum more. I was banging it before he left Ajax. He goes to West Ham. He's brilliant. I am the least shocked person on the planet. Why didn't we do this at 34 million? And now we're sort of here going, can we get something out of Sterling? It's just like, there's
The
moments like that where I
Kudus
go,
one's so difficult as well because he's an Arteta player. You know,
Kudus.
he's a
He's a
dual monster.
carved out
He
Arteta
can
player
play any position across the front line. He could
and
probably
midfield.
play in that 10 run. Like he is of what he would need. I just don't understand it. And
Yeah.
was it last season that we were linked to him? Is it only last season?
Yeah, it was summer 2023, yeah.
Yeah. So you look at the signings we made, and there could be an argument to say maybe it was PSR because you look at the Raya deal and how that was a loan with an obligation, and maybe there was a reason, but he's the perfect player. I can't get my head around it. It's bonkers to me, but there we go.
But also, the club opted to do the Havertz deal at 65 million,
Yep.
so which was significantly more expensive. I don't know how football finance works, but I get the impression that if you spent 65 million on a player, if you didn't spend that 65 million and you spent 35 million on another player, then you've got 30 million more to spend on one. I just my
Yep.
football finance might not work like that, but that's the common sense side.
How do you think that would have played out if we got Kudus instead of Havertz? Because kind of like physically imposing as Havertz is, like I would say he leads the press more than a Kudus would. Do you think that would have worked out better? Do you reckon?
The problem is, I think Havertz is closer to the more natural 9 we need, but I
Mm,
think Kudus is a much better player. So basically, even if Kudus doesn't naturally fill the profile that we needed up front, and by the way, Havertz was signed as a midfielder, but if
yeah,
Kudus maybe doesn't naturally fill that void, does it maybe not matter because he's just fundamentally better? So you kind of get more. I don't know. Football's never 1 + 1 = 2.
yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, and that's not me saying. Actually, no, it is. It is me saying, Havertz, fair play. He's really changed my mind. He's done much, much better than I ever thought he would. But he's not changed my mind to the point where I think we were better off signing him than signing Kudus. I think, I think, and I've been saying this for a little while now, that Arteta's wanting to sign really versatile players that can play loads of different positions is a strength, but it has a ceiling. That strength.
Yeah,
It's not like forever a great thing. I think actually. What's your core? Is Rice your 6 or is he not? Is Havertz your starting 9 or is he not? And therefore, if he
mm,
is your starting 9, then you don't move him to get the best out of the team when Odegaard's missing. So yeah, I don't know. I've sort of waffled on there a little bit, but we've just whether it be Edu, Arteta, the Kroenke's not freeing up the funds, whatever it is, we missed out on players that were totally gettable at prices that
yeah,
were totally gettable in whatever situation we're in was totally gettable. They ended up at clubs, these players that weren't playing Champions League football. Like, I don't know
yeah,
what the
yeah,
excuse is.
100%. Yeah, just look at the track record of those players who have gone on, and it is. Yeah, it's teams like West Ham, Newcastle, and there's not a slight on those clubs at all.
No, it just
However,
means
we
no excuse for us. Well done to them.
surely, and I think it's a good indicator for those clubs that they're picking up these players. But for Newcastle to go and get both Bruno and then Isak, I think surely that just shows that our recruitment wasn't quite right in those locations, like Paqueta going on. It's it could have been better, but again,
Yeah.
it could have been worse.
Yeah.
I won't go on too much about the director role, seeing as you have no idea, James. Because I
just
was thinking, we'll have a little chat about this, a little chat about
I
Sociedad,
know
and
nothing really about the candidates, and to be honest, and I will say this, I don't actually think anyone can really okay, not anyone, maybe reporters at The Athletic or people who've really done their research, and which plenty of great people do. But I think very few can claim to really know whether Edu did a great job or not. I just think
yeah,
there's so much behind the scenes. With Arteta, I don't care how he coaches, what methods he has. The evidence is on the pitch on match day, and same with the players we watch. So whatever they're doing behind the scenes, I'm judging them for ultimately what comes out there. But with people like Edu, Tim Lewis, Richard Garlick, all these people, whatever we think of them, I don't know how we can have like super strong opinions on whether they're doing a good or bad job, unless we can quite clearly see that as a collective they're all doing a bad job because the club's in a poor state. But the club's not in a poor state. The club has been able to spend money. The club's recruited largely very well. The club's competed for the Premier League in the last few years. The final question is for Mikel. It's not for them. Ultimately, they've
yeah,
kind of done their bit. I feel, well, not done their bit, but you know, they've been a part of getting us that close, and
yeah.
to go from there to there, the difference between winning the title and not is unfortunate on Mikel, I think.
Yeah, I think on the whole, the recruitment has been pretty good because I can distinctly remember Gary Neville talking about our recruitment being a shambles and there's no plan. And it was when we brought in the players like we brought in Ben White, Tommy Asu,
Yeah,
maybe Ramsdale
Lokonga,
that season. Yeah,
yeah,
and it was
Odegaard.
quite to me as a fan. I kind of sat there and went, "This is the first time." They're not big names, but this is the first time where I've looked and they've actually kind of looked at a profile and said, okay, we want kind of taller players, we want younger players, we want players that are able to play in multiple positions. Like the Tommy Asu deal just made sense. And it was nice that, ironically, Tottenham were kind of going for him, weren't they? We ended up coming in, stepping in and going, no, he's coming here. And then I think they ended up with
Emerson.
Emerson Royale.
Yeah.
So the recruitment now, when you look at it in hindsight, was really, really good. And there's definitely a
Yeah.
clear plan. Although we haven't got the right players over the line every single time, I think there's definitely a plan. I just look at the director role as it's almost like a fail safe. If your manager, if if for example Real Madrid come calling or Barcelona come calling for Arteta, and he suddenly disappears at the end of one season, hopefully the club doesn't fall apart in the same
Yeah, I know
way
what
as
you
when
mean.
Wenger left, because there's not just one person who is the entire hierarchy. So I just look at them as that fail safe, that long term vision of we recruit the same style of player for our positions. So regardless of who comes in, it's just a nice and easy transition. But we won't go too much into that, mate. Seeing as
Well, no, I yeah, I agree with all of that, and I think the only missing kind of thing on Arsenal's list of recruitment, and maybe I was saying the difference between winning the title is Arteta. I mean, maybe that's not actually true, but I do think it's whether it be Arteta, not Edu, but whoever comes in. They need to get that superstar attacker. They need to do something that shows ambition to add goals and fear to this Arsenal team, and they have never made that signing. Jesus wasn't that signing. Trossard wasn't that signing. That's it. Like they haven't got anyone. They need to add that. They need to have that
yeah,
kind of signing.
let's go on from that then, mate.
Mm,
January comes.
yeah.
Who are you getting? When I said who are you getting, I'm not going to say who are the club getting, because I don't know. Maybe it's the old age, the grey hairs in me that I'm not I'm not confident of us going out and getting a
I don't think
Kudus
we're
or
signing anyone.
oh
I don't think we're signing anyone. Sorry. I
mate, you're
because
full of joy today.
I know. But isn't it interesting that you know, we sort of immediately are thinking okay, we've got to sign someone. We've got to add a player. My brain's actually never really looked at that as the solution
Oh,
because I don't
really?
think because I don't look at January as the window. Typically, okay, Van Dijk went in January. Laporte. I know that there have been some
There
big
are, yeah,
signings.
there's some.
We signed Aubameyang. Of course, there are going to be examples where January have been able to make a difference. If that opportunity pops up, I'd like to think we'd do it. But I don't think January is the window where we're going to get what we need. And what we need is that superstar difference maker attacker. That for me is going to be the sign that makes a real difference to Arsenal.
Yeah,
Long term, we need to replace Thomas Partey, Jorginho, whatever, but they're playing this season. So the thing we really need right now is Isak or Kudus. You're not getting them this January. You're just not
no,
getting them. Um, you're more likely to get another Sterling type, or maybe there's someone who's doing quite well. They didn't quite realize, and you pick him up for 25 million, and he surprises you. But you're just not getting that superstar attacker. So controversially, I actually think that unless we sign that player, there's not loads we can do in this window. Some might say we need an Erdegaard replacement. We have him. It's Waneri, but he doesn't want to play him. He'd rather move players out of position than actually use the guy who's ready made to come in. And okay, fine, you want to get someone, but we're all calling for someone special. Forest are flying. They're not letting Gibbs White go. Okay, Florian Wirtz, he's a £100 million player and he's still in the middle of the season for Leverkusen. I just think these players that we hope will come in and make a big difference, they I don't think they are gettable in January.
yep,
And I actually, even to this day, I don't really think our squad is in as terrible a place. Everyone says we've had injuries and some problems, but I've been more upset with Arteta's use of the squad rather than the squad that he's ultimately left himself with. I
yeah,
think Raheem Sterling could have played more football. I don't think he looked bad at home against Southampton. I don't think he looked bad in some of the cup games he played. Didn't look amazing. He's not setting the world alight, but there's something there. Like, try to get that out of him. He doesn't seem to want to. Well, we've needed goals at Newcastle and Inter. He didn't want to turn to Raheem Sterling. Like, if you're not going to try give him 10, 20 minutes in those games to make a difference, then I really kind of fear. But, last season he looked pretty good for Chelsea at points. So why are we
yeah.
kind of treating him like he's, completely useless? Um, I think Marino will give us more. And then you've got Marino, Rice, Partey, Jorginho. That's a great set of like eights and sixes there to pick from. And then you just need one area to get some minutes, who, whenever he has looked really good. So I just don't think our squad is in terrible shape. We're talking about Ben White being missing. Calafiori, we don't know about. Timber, is at the ACL, so can he play all the time? And our fullback pairing could still be Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, which is great. And that doesn't
That's
mention that
mad,
doesn't
isn't it? Really?
yeah, and,
Like,
and that's not even mentioning Kivior, who actually played in the run-in last season. Well, for a lot of 2024 when we were at our best, and Lewis Skelly, who's emerged. So we're just not in this awful position. I've actually just been more disappointed in Arteta's use of the squad than I
useful,
have been actually
100%.
the squad that he's left himself with. I don't think Jesus and Sterling are proving that next season I don't really want them at the club with the way they're performing right now. But we're left with them this season, and I don't think they're so appalling that we can't possibly use them in some way, shape, or form, personally.
I thought you made a really good point recently. I want to say you stole my point, but
Ooh,
but I never
don't know
said
what
it
one.
live, so no one
Oh,
ever really
no.
heard it
Oh,
apart from my
what
mate. So, but it was
oh,
so nice to hear you say it about the use of positions for certain
yeah,
players in terms of Trossard being more central zones,
yeah,
Jesus playing out on the right, and
yeah.
I might have made this argument on Dan Potts' channel on Football's 12th Man very briefly, but I do question sometimes Arteta's use of the players, and
Totally.
it's it's so frustrating when you're watching certain games and you can see, for example, Havertz not being closer to goal in central areas, and accessing central areas for us has been a big problem this year. You could say it's been a big problem over the course of Arteta's tenure, really. But when you can see it watching a game playing out, sometimes I kind of question myself and I think, am I not seeing something? And I guess I'm not because, I'm nowhere near as talented as him. But at the same time, watching Waneri come on, playing against Preston, having an unbelievable game. Did he come on against PSG? I think he came in and played.
He
And
didn't come against PSG, but he came on
was
against
it
Inter.
Inter?
Partey
Yeah.
rolled it into him, and he spun a defender and got a shot away. And I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
wow. This feels groundbreaking.
Leicester, he came on, didn't he, and made a difference. You know,
Yeah, massively.
he's definitely capable of being a driving force in that position. He carries the ball. He's really hard to take the ball off him. He's got real
Mm,
low center of gravity. He's an unbelievable talent. And
mm.
I'm thinking, why are we forcing ourselves into this kind of 4-2-4 formation and having
Yeah,
Havertz out and lacking
totally
at
agree.
overlapping? And it's just, I don't know.
Totally agree.
That's been my biggest frustration at the moment. I would say our squad is thin in numbers, not in quality. And
Yeah,
that's one of the other issues that we have. If you were
I
getting anywhere,
I agree. Sorry, no, carry on, carry on.
I'm guessing you go for Kudus. If you're getting anyone else, like who would you target?
West Ham have spent a lot of money over the last 2 summers. Now, I know that's partly because of us and the Declan Rice deal. They spent a lot of money and not got where they wanted to because of it. And there were reports of a Kudus falling out with the manager like a couple of weeks ago, but that might kind of be done. West Ham are not in great form. Um, I think Kudus, you'd have to put up, I think, 100 million to tempt
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
But I think I think he's potentially gettable. Also because his best position is actually out on the right where Jared Bowen plays. And they've got Somerville, and then they've got Fulkrug and Antonio up front or whatever. So I think ultimately they will. I could. Sorry, I'm really thinking about this one. I could see West Ham if 90 million land at their doorstep, going. We do have players for those other positions. Kudus might be the best, Bowen, but I could see them going. All right, because we're ultimately playing a guy out of position just because he's so good. It's 90 million. We can reinvest a little bit of that. Then maybe that one's doable, but that's like really wishful thinking.
Does he
Um,
just slot in on the left hand side for us then, or
I,
do
I,
you
I think so,
reshuffle?
but
Or
I think so. I think he could play out on the left. I think he could also play false nine if Martinelli is ever in great form. I think he's got that kind of Mane ability, back to goal, really
yeah,
strong. So wherever you put him, whether he's facing goal or back to goal, I think he gives you so much. Um, Yeah, yeah, that's why I'd go for a Kudus because I think basically wherever the hole is in that front three, if it's up front or on the left, he can kind of do
he
a
just
job. And
goes in there.
If Havertz discovers the form of earlier this season because he started the season on fire, then you got
Yeah,
him out on the left on the touchline on a stronger foot attacking fullbacks, which would be great to see. If Martinelli looks brilliant, you need his work rate. Havertz out the game, then Kudus gives you something up front. He's also a moments player that can win you a game out of nothing, and we lack that.
we
Like
lack that.
Chelsea weren't in that game when Pedro Neto equalised. He just went, give it to me, and he thrashed it. Like when was the last time a player did that for us? Saka's got that in him once or twice a season. But I'm talking players that kind of quite regularly you depend on them for those moments. Saka's phenomenal, by the way. But at the moment, he's been asked to do a very particular role out on that touchline. So why don't we get someone who's got a freer role who can try and make things happen? Kudus is not gettable in January, in my opinion, but it'd be the one I'd be really trying for.
Yeah, I think kind of looking at what's available, I just can't see us, especially with Edu leaving. I can't see us unless something's already in the pipeline. And they've been working on it a long time, and they're convinced to come to the club,
Yeah,
and wages are more or less sorted out already. That type of thing. I can't see us doing anything
I can't.
other than a release clause. So
Are
that's
there
how I
any?
look at it. I mean, Jokeres apparently. Oh, little ITK here. So I've got someone who is works with a club at Coventry. And he is talking that the release clause has been kind of set to a lower fee because now that the essentially in the clauses with the money going the other way to Coventry, that's been lowered now. I think it was 15 million down to 10 million, something along those lines. So they've agreed. I don't know why Coventry would do that, but that's what I'm hearing. So that fee is actually a little bit lower than kind of first reported. So maybe going for a Jokeres, but I can't see again Arteta doing that and spending that money because it doesn't solve all of our problems. All we have then is we have Havertz and Jokeres. Um,
Yeah, I don't
Nico
think
Williams. Oh, go on. Yeah, go. Sorry,
I,
mate.
I like Nico Williams. I do like Nico Williams. I don't think Arteta likes is the word pigeonholing. I don't
Mhm.
think he likes forcing himself into a position. Like if he signed Gyökeres, I think he basically will feel like he has to play one of him or Havertz, and I don't
Yeah,
think he likes that. I think that's why I think he'd ultimately prefer an Isak because he could chuck Isak out on the left if Havertz is in great form. We
yeah,
wouldn't want to see it, but he would be willing to do it. So I don't think he likes signing players that dictate what he has to do, rather than him having full control on where and how he uses the
yeah.
players he has.
I think like Nico Williams is another player, lower release clause, like a really good release clause, high
Yeah,
wages, but when you kind of
25.
work out playing that over like 4 or 5 years, it really averages out. It's a great deal. He's a
Mm.
player that's played. The last time I checked, I want to say he played like 90 odd games on the right wing, and then he's switched to left wing. So he's very adept on both wings.
Very
Great carry of the
two-footed as
ball.
well, yeah.
Yeah. He
But
hasn't.
he's not got blistering pace. That's the one
Mm,
thing. Like, what are we looking to add? I think it's either goals or like serious threat in transition.
yeah.
And
And
I'm
again,
not sure he adds either. I
is
think
he
he's
going to
just
be
a
a
very,
Martinelli
very,
type? Isn't he?
very good player. I think he's just a
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Add more very, very, very good players. But I don't think it's a profile we're desperate to add, but it's always great to add more good players.
Yep. Apart from there, you're kind of
Mm,
wanting then, aren't you? I'm trying to think who
yeah.
else. Bruno Ramirez, he's another one with a release clause. Although I
No, I
say
think it
that, did it
expired.
end this summer? So,
Yeah,
you know, you kind of, there's not many options out there right now with release
yeah.
clauses, but that's the only way I can see us doing any real good business, which is probably not what everyone at home wants to hear, but
No,
that's
yeah,
the
I'm just being
reality
honest.
of the matter.
I don't think we will. I think we would like to. I don't think we really can. I think the Edu thing, you're right. When I was talking about it, I didn't even actually clock that. Yeah, Edu leaving will play a part and all that. Yeah, sorry, but everyone, like, there is still so much more to get out of these, and that's not exciting. I know that's not exciting. But even post the knee surgery, Jesus has shown us much, much better levels than we've got from this current Gabby Jesus this season. Raheem Sterling didn't become the Premier League's worst winger in 1 year. Like I like to think that behind the scenes, Arteta's working with him massively on fitness, positioning, confidence, all these things, and is ready to bring him back. Fire and ready. Marino has shown at home to Liverpool and in that cameo against Chelsea. There's a very, very good player there who can really facilitate nicely everything we've got. Rice is still playing out of his best position, in my opinion. So I
Yep,
think we'll see
I'd agree.
levels from him. Erdegaard's still to return. Kai Havertz has just been doing, nightmare shifts up front in, while we've had these particular games. We can get him back up front. There's still so much we can do. Timber, for me, isn't a left back. He plays his best football at right back. So, yeah, White's injured, but I think there's an opportunity to see our best fullback pairing in Calafiori and Timber from an attacking perspective go out there and try build us some momentum. Waneri, we still haven't unleashed him. So I still think there's so much. Like, I still think there are levels for Arsenal to go. I really believe that. I think Arteta's missed the opportunity to go through those levels earlier this season, but I still think we have that opportunity. I just think 9 points is too much. But I'm not. I don't feel like we've seen Arsenal throw everything at it yet. And in which case, I'm just like, it's not enough. Go into the window. I think this current group have still so much more to show.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we definitely got levels to grow, and that's the other thing. We have these players in Calafiori, in Marino, who haven't been able to kind of embed themselves.
Yeah.
Fitness
Yeah.
wise, they haven't had the time under tension to kind of
They've had
really kind of get
injuries
used
as
to.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, they've had to play in teams where suddenly you're changing our six, you're changing our eight, you're changing. So for them, they're not building up those relationships, and there's no continuity for them. I
Yeah,
do
no,
actually really feel for them. The other thing is
mm,
that with Marino, he's a player who's never really had many injuries. So
yeah,
I was looking at him thinking, for him, that must be really difficult. You come to a new club, you have
yeah,
an injury where you
yeah.
haven't. Sorry, if you can hear that sneezing,
Less,
what are you
less
doing?
passive.
Sorry about that. He's, it must be quite difficult to come to an
Yeah,
entirely different league, um, complete new set of players, different system, and he's playing in a role which is probably one of our most demanding roles. It's such a difficult position.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
And
for 2 reasons. A, because it just is for what you need to bring to the team, but B, because we've been desperate for a left 8 signing. We
yeah,
finally get one, and we're now like, "Be amazing, be better than Granit Xhaka," and that's quite difficult because
and then Gabriel goes and bowls into you, and you're like, oh,
yeah, oh,
thanks,
welcome
mate.
to Arsenal. Yeah,
Welcome to the club. But
that
yeah,
injury's so
it
annoying.
will get better. It will get better. I think
It
we're both
will.
kind of in agreement of that.
Yeah.
I can see you yawning there, James. So
So, do you know what? I've slept terribly because it's so rude of me to yawn. I'm so sorry, but the reason is
mate,
because
you don't have to share everything on here.
no,
Don't.
I've been I've been sleeping on the sofa while everything else has been torn apart, and I've been sleeping terribly because we're like pulling apart every like things are going into one room while we're emptying one, but then the other can't be slept. So everything's so I've been sleeping on the sofa. I was just looking at it over there. I was looking at the duvet, thinking, my word, didn't get to sleep till like 2:30 or something.
Oh, mate.
Um, and yeah, and then I'm just like, and I'm not a handyman, but here I am like taking down wardrobes, unscrewing this, lifting everything's whatever. It's really taking out of me. And I
Oh,
sound pathetic, don't I? So I'm just a very tired individual right now. I'm very sorry. It's very pathetic of me, I know.
mate. But
Um,
at the same time, it
but yeah.
shows you, like, genuinely, everyone. Like, I know James comes across as a real nice guy, but he genuinely is a really nice bloke. Because you could
Oh,
have
that's
just
very
said,
sweet of
you could
you.
have said, we'll just reschedule. Like it's
No, no, no,
fine.
no, no, no. No, I've also been fine. It's just I'm now in that post-lunch. You ever have lunch and you just fancy a nap?
Yeah.
No, I might run for a nap after.
Nice little
But
carb
no, sorry.
coma.
Yeah,
Eat some
yeah.
carbs.
Next time I
Have a
go on
sleep.
there.
Oh,
Yes. Oh, that's what I. Yeah, I need some slow release energy. I'll go eat a banana or something. That'll help. But
I
yeah,
was
no.
thinking more
So I'm
like
just a
pasta
little.
or something. Come on, mate.
I know
Treat
you're right. I haven't
yourself. A
had. I know.
banana.
You're
Can
right.
have some
But yeah, no.
linguine or
So
oh god.
I'm a bit sleep deprived, so sorry if I've yeah, sorry if I've been a bit lacking in energy. But I feel good about the team. Despite everything,
Yay.
I think we'll be good. I think we'll be fine. I do believe that.
Cool. Before we finish up then, put you on the spot now. Put you on the spot.
Go for
So
it.
I want your kind of your terrible opinion about something. So it could be football related. So it could be football related. It could be so I once said, and I got slated for it. I said Klopp was overrated. And
Oh,
oh my God, did everyone take it out of context? So I'm hoping everyone keeps it in context. But yeah, I just stated that he won the Premier League, but it was in a COVID year, so it was an asterisk. And then I said, he lost a lot of cup finals, so there was a lot of failure there. I didn't say he was a bad manager. I think he's a fantastic manager. Just said he was slightly overrated. That was it.
wow.
That was it. And
That's bold.
yeah, I mean, it is bold, isn't it? But again, just to clarify, I will say this one more time. He is not a bad manager. I would have taken him at Arsenal. I think he would have been such a good successor for Wenger. But
Yeah.
yeah, have you got like your own awful opinion? Well, that other people might think is awful. You're into your Game of Thrones, aren't you?
I am.
So I was going to say like something like, Game of Thrones is terrible, but I'm into Game of Thrones. I love it. So
Um well, I mean I went semi-viral for celebrating the draw against Man City, and apparently that was controversially, um, something not to be happy about. Is there something I think that goes
maybe like
against what most
a player that you think was overrated. So I'll give you another one. See, I'm just putting myself out here. Ready? My next one is Havertz. Never rated him. Fantastic on the ball, amazing to watch, but never made it at Real Madrid. And I think if you put him
Havertz?
in this, yeah. Oh, sorry, not Havertz. Hazard. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, Hazard,
Um,
oh, right.
yeah. Yeah, never made it after his big move, and I just can't see him in the same bracket as some of the all-time greats, especially of the Premier League. Just look at his goals and assist record. I just can't have him near a Salah. I cannot. I just can't. Amazing, like to
So there's
watch, carrier of the ball, like, but I just think he never really Maybe it's for me. He could have done more. He had more talent than he actually,
I mean, I rate Hazard massively, but I get what you're saying to a point. I used to entertain the Hazard Salah debates. I don't anymore. I think Salah has moved clear because of his
Yeah, yeah.
longevity and the numbers. But you have them both in their prime. Hazard was phenomenal, but I still edge Salah.
I'm
This
getting
is a
slated after
really,
this, aren't I?
this is really difficult one. Okay, Tottenham fans won't like this. Oh God.
Ooh. Go on, mate.
No. Sorry, Spurs fans. I never rated that Spurs team that finished second twice or once and third. Got to the Champions League final, got to the FA Cup semis a couple times. I didn't rate them quite as much as everyone else did. I always thought they're very good, undoubtedly. And Poch is and actually it's funny because I reflected on Poch as an amazing manager. Like it never, however highly people rated Poch, I agreed with that. I just never agreed that the Spurs team. I think a lot of people feel like there's stats, isn't there, across 2 seasons: the most points, the most goals scored, the least conceded, a couple semi-finals, a Champions League final after that. Second place. A lot of people feel like they were everything but title winners, and I don't really feel that. I don't think they were everything but title winners. I think they were a very good side, and that's it. But I never thought they were title good. And where that's controversial is even though we only got a couple more points than them, I think maybe not 22-23 Arsenal, but 23-24 Arsenal, I think was title good. I think if we'd won the title, no one would have disputed, no one would have said, oh, it's one, that's probably one for me. Sorry, Spurs fans.
Mate, I love that. I love that. I
It's
put
a
you on the
fair
spot
one.
as well for that. No,
Mm,
no. And
yeah.
see, this is the game of YouTube as well, isn't it? Because someone somewhere will see that and go mental.
Yeah.
But I think you've articulated your point really well there. I think, yeah, like,
Oh well, I
don't feel
mean,
like
I mean, the one that I got really ripped for was saying Unai Emery. They were asking when Klopp was in the league who the third best manager in the league is. Now, inevitably, the conversation become who's the second best. And I said this a year ago, and I got slated for it a couple months after because it's one of those clips that redid the rounds from way before. And nothing has changed about my opinion. So my opinion was the reason I have Arteta above Emery, not in terms of CV, but in terms of how good a manager he is
currently, yeah.
because ultimately, if you ask Real Madrid, Barcelona, even Man City, who they would hire of the two, Arteta or Emery, I don't think anyone can convince me that they're picking Emery. They're not. They're picking Arteta.
That's
And
a
the
really good
reason
way of
is
putting it.
right. And the reason is not Emery's CV is better. Emery has done a better pound for pound job, I think, with Villa than Arteta has done with Arsenal. When you look
Mhm.
at where they were, the expectation for the club, of course, they're still a big club, don't get me wrong, got them into the Champions League, fine. But what Arteta's done is find a way to spend money, and it was a lot of money, but spend it to build a squad that was in the mud to get to a level in which it competed with Man City 2 seasons, playing a progressive style of football that unfortunately you do need to win the league. Emery is a bit of a mix of styles. Yes, he attacks, but he's a mix of styles to be fair. Now Arteta's got that pragmatism too, I understand. But I just think ultimately, there are managers that are very good at certain jobs. And Emery has been a master of taking a club that had a certain expectation and going beyond that. I don't know if Emery would get the Liverpool job and compete for the title, or get the City job and compete for the title. Not compete, win. That's the expectation.
Yeah.
Whereas I think those clubs would think that Arteta could do that. And that's another one that Villa fans hate me for. And you know what? Do you know what? I kind of get it. Like, of course they hate me for it. They're looking at what Emery's doing for their club and loving him
Yeah.
and absolutely loving him. Of course they are. And then they're looking at his CV, and then they're looking at Arteta basically failing to win, out of a possible 8 trophies, the 2 seasons we were good. He didn't win a single one of them. and they've got every right to feel that way. I get it. I just feel like ultimately, when we talk about the best in the best, the best of the best in the division, you've got to talk about the ones that fill you with belief that they can go and win the league. And I think the belief is that Arteta will get there over the next 5-10 years, whereas Emery might have reached a ceiling. But actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't think Emery's particularly old, so I might be wrong about that. Who say he doesn't get better? Oh no, look. And do you know why I hate saying all this? I look like a really bitter Arsenal fan. I really like Emery. I thought he had a good first season for us. I really did. And I think the reasons things went wrong in the second season, while he made errors, I actually don't think were all his fault. I think the club was a mess. And I think he's a really class act. I like Villa. My girlfriend's brothers are Villa fans. I've got a lot of reason to like Villa. I think Villa Park's fantastic. The Villa fans I know are great. So it's really not a personal Emery Villa thing. I just think Arteta is more that kind of coach than Emery is. And that
So
plays
you
a part,
hate
unfortunately.
Emery.
Basically is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for clarifying that. No, I could say it any better. I love that point about what would the elite clubs do? Who would they hire? And I think that says it all, doesn't it? Really, I've never really thought about that. That's the best way, because I agree with you. I look at Emery as almost like a cup manager. That sounds so. It's funny, isn't it? That sounds really derogatory.
It
But
does, but
he's
it's like actually it can be a compliment. Like
yeah,
he's
like he's
brilliant
got
at a particular side of the game. Benitez was that.
amazing record. Like Europa League, he is the manager for the Europa League. He is number one. He's a guy who's gone in and he's won at PSG. He's gone and done all sorts of amazing job at Villa. He didn't do too bad. He had a good run at Arsenal.
Took Villarreal to a
Um,
Champions League semi-final after
yeah,
winning the Europa League. Like
yeah.
he's brilliant at that side of the game for sure.
But I just there's something. I think elite teams winning their leagues, there is something that they have to have. There's just like that X factor, that just something you can't really grasp. And with him, I just feel like that's not there. Maybe it's a bit of a warped view because of his communication in the English press. I don't think that helped him. Whereas
Yeah,
you
but I
get
thought
this kind of charisma from.
the media and fans sucked when it came to that. Like
Yeah, that's
he was
true.
always trying his best, and I thought we were awful to him on that front.
Mm, yeah, but yeah, an unbelievable manager. Just it's funny, isn't it, how people can just
But
run with something and completely kind of skew your words. But there
well,
we go.
summer of 2024, he had been in the Villa job a year and a half. Okay, albeit he probably wanted to take them into Champions League. I understand that. But I don't remember seeing any reports of Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Real Madrid weren't sure what they were going to do with Ancelotti.
Mm-hmm.
Bayern Munich were looking for a manager. Barcelona were looking for a manager. And I don't remember Emery being linked with a single one of those jobs.
No, no.
Now, to be fair, Bayern hired company. So that's not necessarily a real reflection of everything. But he wasn't linked with any of those jobs. Like, why? This clearly the bigger clubs have a doubt that we share. Like, clearly there's a reason. Clearly his track
Mm-hmm.
record, while it tells us some amazing things, it also tells us something isn't quite right. But I think he's great. I think he's a class act. I genuinely wish him all the best. I'd be more than happy for Arsenal to win the title and Villa to finish second and win the FA Cup. Like, really, I would be. Good on it. I like Emery. I genuinely do, and I like Villa, but I don't I don't think he and CV can chat to anyone in the league, but I don't think he can in terms of a demonstration of what it takes to win the major
Yeah,
honors. And maybe Arteta can't, but he's a much younger manager who's had far less time in the game and has come closer to the title and that big trophy than Emery, unless I'm missing something in my mind.
I
But I don't
think
think I
Emery
am.
as well. He might be a prime example, something for you to look at, James, of someone that needs a certain director, because it's interesting
Maybe.
how suddenly now he's got someone he's got a really good relationship. They understand what each other are looking for in players, and that squad's
Yeah.
grown, and it's very much in his mold. Whereas
Yeah.
I think Emery was cut a raw deal because we were after from Crystal
Zaha.
Palace, Zaha. We got
Yeah.
Pepe. We were
Yeah.
after who else was it? I'm trying to think in midfield. Used to play
Oh,
for Lyon.
Nzonzi? No, 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 no,
Well, there
no.
was Nzonzi was one of them, and
Yeah.
then there was the French player that was at Lyon.
Basically, he wanted some
Awar.
height. Yes, he
No,
wanted
so,
some height and presence in that midfield, and we gave him Torreira. Now, I actually thought Torreira was a decent player, but he wasn't what he wanted. And you see now, since then, he's worked with Douglas Luiz, Kamara, and Onana in midfield, so you can maybe get a better picture of what he wanted instead. Emery's top. He's a top manager. I just think to debate why a Mikel Arteta or some other of these other stars of coaches who maybe haven't achieved as much, I think debating that they could be better than Emery isn't for me a fast school debate at all.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, mate, and
No,
making
thank you,
time,
man. It's been a
especially
pleasure.
when you're like shattered. I feel awful now, but
Please don't, because you know what it is. It's not even that. I don't know. There's so much. I prefer just. I love chatting to
just
you about
getting on.
football. I prefer just getting on, and sometimes you let a little yawn out. So apologies to everyone if I've bit very rude of me, but yeah, it's fine. This is a blitz 2 weeks for me, this international break, and everything will be in order come Arsenal Forest, and I'm looking forward to that. And we'll unveil it all on the Goonerverse. But yeah, man, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And if you don't follow James, I mean, I genuinely don't understand how you've got to this channel and then watch this video. I mean, genuinely. You can catch James. Or James, do you want to do it? Where can people
Very
find you, mate?
I'm just on the Goonerverse, and I'll see you some stuff on AFTV, on X, which is a horrendous platform. I'm not actually posting on it at the moment because it's actually been so freeing not tweeting. Yeah, honestly, but that is James B underscore AFC, I think, if you want to follow, but I'm not
It's
really
under him. It's under him.
saying anything at the moment. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, mate. I do appreciate it. You're so nonchalant about everything. It's just on the Goonerverse, you know. I've got this awesome channel with Sharoy. It's you know,
Very
we do things like the tactical insight on AFTV and Forever Arsenal, and every once in a while I do a live watch along, and
I don't want
sometimes
to
I
overpromise.
interview Arteta. You know, so someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. But
It's a hard life.
thank you so much.
Thank you, mate.
If you haven't liked the video or subscribed to my channel, please do. We're on the road to 500, James. 500.
Subscribe.
We will make it there. Oh, I love it.
Clever
Look at
MacBook
that.
tricks. You love to see it.
Amazing. Cool.
If I do this, hit the like button. There we go. I know. We're learning things. We're learning things.
I love it. Oh,
I know.
I feel special now. Thanks, everyone. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers now.
Thank you, man.